what is most exciting about that for you? Like you just said, an example of somebody who has cancer and you're getting choked up. What has that have you more plugged in than the other format?
Well, I mean, the other format is the ego boost. Like, oh, I got to interview Seth Deckman on my podcast, and he is so smart, and he is a known quant. I mean, and I have had some interesting people, but at the end of the day, connecting with the end user, the person who is actually asking me a question, and I am locked in on that person, hearing the question, talking them through, it's that to me makes me better at my day job at CBS, because when I'm crafting a segment and I have to go do something for evening news or I have to do something for CBS mornings, I'm not thinking about like this most important economist who whispered in my ear about something going on. I'm thinking about all the people who have made me better at my job because I am communicating to them, with them, in a way that they can absorb. It's the difference between going to see a doctor who is really smart and is just like an ass and wants to kind of show you how smart he or she is, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the doctor who's like, I don't like, this is weird. I don't know what this is. I need to bring someone else in on this case. And like the humanity of a person who's willing to open up and say, I don't know what this is, or this is what I think, but I want to get it confirmed. I am that kind of person.
Yeah. It's a great analogy with a physician or a doctor. It's like the clinical, I have a little bit of a shoulder problem. I play tennis. So I had an MRI done and I had some other imaging done. And I went in and I saw 3 doctors, which is completely like not what I normally do. The first 2 grabbed the images right out of my hand and just put them up on the viewer and started looking. The third one that I ended up saying did more clinical. And that sounds like what you're doing. They took the images, they put them on the desk, they touched, they talked, they asked a ton of questions. They asked, what about what do I do with my kids? I mean, it was real. It sounds like you're being more like a clinical doctor as opposed to just relying on the technology or what one expert, a high level economist tells you in the hallway.
Yeah. I mean, we are people. We are flesh and blood. We have emotions. All right. And so if you want, it's funny when I hear sometimes on financial media, I hear these people talking, and am I allowed to curse on our podcast or not?
100%.
Okay. Because I don't do it on my own, but I can do it on others. 9 times out of 10, I'll say, this is such bullshit. I cannot even believe it. Like, I can't believe the person believes what they're actually saying right now because it's so disconnected from reality. It's disconnected. People are not just buying and selling things to make money. They have actual goals. They are not sitting there saying like, what should I do about this versus it? They're saying, I don't know how to manage this. And, when you talk about that doctor that you went to see, the one that you feel like you felt most comfortable with, of course, like if you had a rare type of disease, you go see the best. And if it's some wacko scientist who doesn't speak English, you hope they have a great PA who can talk to you, right?
Exactly.
But for most of us, we want to be seen and heard, right? And I think that that's also part of the process. If you're thinking about booking guests, I'm always very cautious because, you can have the smartest person in the world out there. How are they going to ask you? How are they going to connect with your audience? Yeah. What is going to happen here? And I got to tell you, it's always funny. A good speaker will think on her feet and connect with the audience in a way that surprises them. Yeah. So I'll do one little anecdote, which just blew away the audience. I was hired to speak to a bunch of aerospace engineers, which are like pretty straightforward, like heavy duty math nerds. Okay. And I remember I was at a hotel and I usually wake up early in the morning to, get on a bike or get on a treadmill. And I went down at 5:00 in the morning and every single machine in the whole hotel was actually taken because they were all up early doing the same thing. And everybody was on their Peloton. There were like 7 Peloton bikes. They were all taken. They were all doing power zone training because it's so clinical in numbers. And that's what I love. And so we're in the audience and we're talking. Now, here's what they see on the audience. Like I'm on the dais and I'm talking about the economy and I'm talking about this. And this is a few years ago. And they were asking me about generationally, how do you bring somebody who is young and bring them into the aerospace engineer? It's not like a sexy business. And I said, you always have to be careful not to lump everybody together. And I said, we all do that, right? It's human nature. We want to like sort of categorize, this is my tribe, that's your tribe. You don't know. I said, you know what? You look at me, you're in this audience, and I already teased you guys that I was a math nerd, but you look at me and you have an idea of who you think I am. You think, okay, she is Jill Schlesinger, Upper West Side, lesbian Jew, New York City, and you start to slot me into a different category. And I said, you know what you don't know? You don't know that I had a nephew who was a graduate of Annapolis, who died in Iraq, who was, sort of the pride of the family. And so as a result, I have a different view around what you think my view is going to be around this thing called the aerospace industry. And everybody was silent.
Yeah.
Just absolutely silent. And I think that it's okay. You don't want to embarrass anybody. You don't want to make anyone feel bad about anything. But it's also okay to say, hey, you know what? You're looking at me. You've got a judgment of me.
Yeah.
I'm more than all of that. And so is your audience members. They're more than the thing they're coming in for.